Can you guys all hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'm hoping that I can tell you a little bit about user experience today. So obviously the term is UX, but I know that a lot of people don't know what that means. I'm a huge fan of UX obviously, but I've also been a huge fan of all these other creative disciplines, and I wanted to talk a little bit about these before I get into user experience because I think that's important. So this is me as a child. I started off as an illustrator. That is genuinely what I looked like as a child. I was just always interested in drawing something creative. I wanted to figure out how I could continue doing that throughout my life. I'd always see my family go into jobs that they really hated, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have that as I continued. So I then stumbled upon design, and the definitions, some of them, are addictive pattern. And it's unfortunate that this is all people think of sometimes when they think of design, because there's so much more to it than that. Obviously, sometimes it can be a beautiful pattern, but there's often a lot of thought. 20 seconds is a long time. Design, this is the actual definition that I like. The purpose or planning that exists behind an action factor object. So this is actually an animated GIF, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it, but she's really confused here, and your audience and users should never ever feel like that if you did design properly. So it's the thinking about what message you're trying to relay to your users. And so that got me into graphic design. Graphic design, basically, but specialising in illustration, typography, and art direction. That was where I focused. So this was a way for me to try and make a message come through behind what I was illustrating, basically. You should never do something just because you like it. You should have a reason for it. So I started off doing printed visual communication, and I use visual communication because it is what graphic designers do, is communicating something visually. When I was doing print, it was as simple as a poster to a range of whole marketing material for a brand, which was great, but I still felt like I had not as much control as I wanted over the whole kind of experience. So moving on to digital communication, you have to think about the layers of information that the user has at their fingertips. You have so many different distractions on a website or an app, wherever you are. So you really can't control users that well. You have to really understand what they're looking for. And I don't know if you've seen Wreck-It Ralph, but this is what, imagine if you walked into the internet, imagine what it would look like. This is potentially what it could look like. Imagine there's so much option to the user. So trying to really tailor that to what they want is difficult. So you really need to think about the messages that you're giving, what your business reason is, but also the user's reason for visiting your business. You really can't control users, but you can persuade them. You need to use the right emphasis and affordance on your messages, what their goal is. I'm just going to take my call. So there's different ways to control users. I don't think control is a good word, but there's these tactics that user experience designers use, or website designers. There's 6. Reciprocation, scarcity, social proof, liking, authority, and commitment. The only 2 that I want to talk about a little bit is reciprocation and scarcity. Scarcity is one that is shown here. You have to really be ethical when you're thinking about these tactics. Scarcity makes people do stuff in a hurry. I was offered an opportunity recently with a gambling website, and they use tactics like this that encourage people to spend money quickly, which I don't like, and I'm not interested in working in that kind of industry, so you really need to be careful as well. Design is quite powerful. A better way to do this is to know your user. So if you really want to get your users on your site, you don't have to use tactics like this, you just need to research them, find out who they are, what they like, how can you speak to them if you don't know who they are. That's a really, really important message, I would say. And you can use research yourself or user researchers that I work with as well to try and find out who these people are. Think about the jobs to be done. So in your users' lives, what is it they do daily? How does that affect the interpretation of your design? You should never force them to go onto your site or go onto your app and do something that they wouldn't naturally need to do if they can do it in your life. But if you don't know your users, you should try and make an educated guess so you can hypothesize. Hypothesis is basically when you kind of understand what your user might want or what they need, but you don't fully know. So you can get feedback on that as well, which is here. After you've had your hypothesis created and you've done some kind of quick mock-ups or designs, you can test this really quickly. In fact, it's good to test it. You need to test these things. it's the best way to create your website or app. You can iterate on designs, which is really different from print. Once something's printed, it's printed, that's it, you can't change it again. A way to test these methods is called lean UX. So it's when you gather feedback really quickly at the early stages of a project. You can use things like concept validation, so that's when you can even just ask questions to the user, is this interesting to you? A/B testing, so present them with 2 options, rapid prototyping, and there's lots of other methods to lean UX as well. This is going to be really hard to explain in 20 seconds. Donmar Warehouse is a website that I created for a theatre in London, and this is an example of knowing your users. So these are personas that I created for the theatre. We got information about their users. You can see on the far right, left, there's user journeys. So this is how the user gets their goal. Well, there was wireframes in a website design so I've got a commercial background, so everything that I'd ever done was about sales and generally how to make more money, get more attention, but I moved into public safety recently, which is really interesting. So that's again, trying to find out how to know your user. I work for Motorola Solutions now, so we do apps for police and fire services. Once your website or app is launched, I would very much advise doing beta testing. So before it's launched, so you can select a small number of people to test these things with, and just think about the feedback that they're giving you. It doesn't mean that you need to make an action on the feedback, but at least you've got that feedback to think about. So I'm Stephen Kay, I'm a UX designer, and 7 minutes isn't a long time to try and explain all of this. There's so much more to it than what I've just said there. So hopefully it gives you kind of a brief understanding of it, and if you want to know more, feel free to reach out to me.
Does anyone have a question for Stephen? I do. Oh, there's one there.
So I'm employed by Motorola Solutions right now. I always do like a bit of freelance on the side, but it's at work full time right now. Motorola Solutions. I don't do the phones, it's apps that I do. No razors.
Anyone else? I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
What was the inspiration to transcend from graphic design to UX?
There was lots. It's actually, I felt like it was just a lot of the way the industry was moving. There's still loads of print and there's still loads of opportunity in that, but there was just so much web available. And I think that I wanted to try and make it a lot easier for people to find things on the internet. It's really difficult sometimes when you're trying to look for something, buy something. So that was kind of my initial reason to move to web.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Big round of applause.